Welcome to the Daily Shift. Every day a shift is happening in the heavens, in the nations, in your own life. Our work here is simple: to hear what the Spirit is saying and to shift with it. I'm your host, Bernard. We have spent 3 episodes building something up: the origin of marriage, why God made it, and how to discern whether God himself joined a union. Today we turn it around. Today we look at what God has clearly said no to. I'm not going to soften this episode. Some of what we cover today is uncomfortable. Some of it touches lives directly in this audience. Some of it is controversial in culture, especially in the modern culture we live in. But if we have spent 3 episodes saying marriage was God's idea, we have to also let God define its boundaries. Not culture, not comfort, not convenience. Let's go through what Scripture names directly. We are going to look at unions Scripture names as condemned. Adultery. If you read Exodus 20:14, one of the 10 commandments, it is clearly condemned. Do not commit adultery. It's not a suggestion. In Hebrews 13:4, it puts it plainly: let the marriage bed be undefiled. God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterers. Adultery is sexual union where one or two parties are already covenanted to someone else. It doesn't matter how the culture around you talks about it. Scripture calls it what it is. Incest. Leviticus 18 gives a detailed list, like that a man may not marry his father's wife, his sister, close blood relatives across the board. This isn't cultural squeamishness. It's a direct, repeated prohibition God gave Israel because these unions distort the family structure he designed. Marriage secured through deception or coercion. Scripture doesn't lay this out as a formal legal category the way it does adultery or incest, but the narratives show God takes it seriously. Think of Jacob and Leah in Genesis 29. Laban deceives Jacob into marrying the wrong daughter first. The case laws in Exodus 22 around seduction show the same thing. Consent and honesty in marriage matter to God, not just the ceremony. Unequal yoking, entered knowingly. 2 Corinthians 6:14. This is what it says: do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now, we want to be careful here because people misuse this verse. Paul is not telling someone already married to an unbeliever to leave. 1 Corinthians 7 addresses that situation with grace, not condemnation. This verse is about a believer knowingly choosing to enter a new marriage with someone outside the faith. That's the door Paul is closing, not a door someone's already walked through. Same-sex union. I want to address this directly rather than dance around it, because a teaching on what marriages does Scripture condemn that avoids this isn't honest. From Genesis 2:24 going forward, Scripture consistently defines marriage in male-female terms. Romans 1:26-7, Leviticus 18:22, and 1 Corinthians 6:9-10 all name same-sex sexual unions as outside God's design for marriage. This is a difficult topic in our modern culture right now. And you know, some of us listening have people we love who are affected by this teaching. We're not going to pretend that's simple. But Scripture itself is not ambiguous here. And we'd rather you hear it plainly from us than hear a softened version somewhere else that doesn't match what the text actually says. Now let me bring something practical into this. Something a lot of us in the Christian community are quietly ignoring. Cohabitation. Living together, being intimate without covenant. Mother Claire, one of our superiors in the Heartdweller ministry, received a word directly from the Lord touching on this issue. And I'll read it verbatim, and I'll share a link to that message on the description of this podcast. This is what the Lord spoke to Mother Claire. Sexual immorality is rife in the Christian community. Do you really think I will overlook your designs on another woman's husband or another husband's wife? Just because everyone else is living with a potential spouse before they are married to them doesn't mean it isn't a sin. You say you are a Christian, but you're living with a partner and having relations without marriage. Fornication is a sin unto death of a soul. Just because your conscience doesn't bear witness anymore to this being a sin does not justify it as licit. If you're living with someone and having relations, get married as soon as possible by a minister. Do not remain uncovered. End of the quotation from the message to Mother Claire. That word is not gentle. And we are not going to make it gentler than it was given. Here's why it matters for today's teaching specifically. Everything we have said about marriage, covenant, living, cleaving, being joined by God Himself, none of that is present in a living arrangement with no covenant made. It looks like marriage from the outside. Two people, one household, physical intimacy. But Scripture doesn't measure marriage by appearance. It measures it by covenant. Without that, what you have is not marriage in God's eyes, no matter how many years you've shared a roof. If that's you listening right now, the word is direct, and we're not going to water it down. Get married or separate. Do not remain uncovered. Here's what we should carry from today from this message. None of what we covered was said to condemn people. It was said to protect them. Every boundary God draws around marriage exists because He knows what happens when it's crossed. Broken trust, broken families, children raised inside contradiction instead of covenant. If anything in this episode touched something in your own life, whether it was, don't leave it in the dark. Whatever it was, don't leave it in the dark. Bring it to the Lord this week. His mercies really are new every morning. And conviction is not condemnation. Conviction is Him loving you enough to show you where to walk back towards Him. In the next episode, we go into one of the most sensitive and most argued over topics in all of Christian teaching. What does the Bible actually teach about divorce? We'll look at where Scripture is completely clear and where honest Bible-believing teachers still disagree. And I'll tell you exactly where those lines are so you are not caught off guard. So may God bless you, and may we all be covered by the mercies of God. Until next time.